Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Unconscious Mind, which was a game that I was highly anticipating for 2024, solely over the art, because it has two phenomenal artists, both Vincent Dutrait and Andrew Bosley, combining their artistic skills in completely different ways, with Vincent Dutrait doing the more realism art throughout the game, and then Andrew Bosley doing the fantastical aspect with the dreams. Because this game is about Freud's teachings on the subconscious and using talk therapy to treat patients in this industry. So it has a theme that I absolutely love, because in college I studied psychology, and then it has art that I was going to be gobsmacked by, and it's also done by Fantasia Games, who've only produced a few games, but every one that I've played of theirs has just been phenomenal. So this game had a lot going for it, and now that I have finally played it, this game is very good. But for me, at this point in time, it's kind of, and this really isn't a knock on the game at all, but it's almost solidified how my tastes have recently changed in games like this. Like, I still have had a great time playing this, but these games don't really have a whole incentive for me to keep coming back. Not that this game really has very, very few negatives that I have, and they're not even really that big of a deal. They're just kind of aspects of the game that I was thinking maybe it's just a pure design choice, because a lot that's in this game makes it feel almost like it's a Vita Lasarda game, which it's not. When you're reading the rules or watching the how to play, when I was watching how to play originally, which is how I learned a lot of games, it was the first time that I was like, I'm not retaining this. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood. Maybe it was just something about the game that was just not clicking for me. And then I read the rules, and I'm like, oh, I got it. Then I started playing it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this all makes sense. But the game really gives you a lot of freedom, because then this is one of the things that it's kind of weird for me, but it has aspects of the game that I very much enjoy. So you have these idea tokens, and on the action board, you can send one or two of your ideas to do that action that you're pointing the little spot, I don't know, tail towards. You can either do that action once or twice. And there's a few things that allow you that are restrictive about the meeting table. But whenever you're placing it, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this action twice. And then you start with 3 of those, but throughout the course of the game, you unlock 3 more. And if you think about them as workers, yes, in worker placement games, there are ways for you to get more workers, but you kind of have to build up towards that, or you can completely forego, going for more workers and doing a different strategy. And here, every time you basically do an action on the meeting board, you move your inkwell up a certain number of spaces. And once you basically do a full lap, you immediately unlock another idea. And in this game, that happens so quickly that you effectively have 6 idea tokens very early, which just means that the board, you can double up on actions more. And so the bad part of this is I feel like the game almost ramps too quickly, and you just have the game is very free. It allows you to not really struggle for much. Yes, you have coffee to have to manage to do certain actions, but you can spend, when you're about to gain coffee, you can spend it real quick to get a bright idea token or something. You can spend coffee to do other things, but then gain your coffee back. So you have almost so many actions almost immediately that it's weird that they even restrict you on having 3, because if you do a bottom action of a board, that moves your inkwell 4 spaces, and you have the potential to increase it even more by spending a bright idea token. which are these that allow you to increase or decrease your movement. And that in and of itself isn't the negative. In fact, moving your inkwell is a really cool aspect of the game because you get these notebook tiles that are special abilities that go in on your player board, and when you land in a row or potentially activate a column, you get to activate all your notebook tiles in any order you want. And that activates your insight, which insight are basically icons that you need to cure patients, like talk them through their dreams. And that's really cool, but the weird part of it is just starting with 3, and then very, very quickly you get all of your actions. So I don't know. I for me, I kind of felt like, oh, well, I'm immediately able to do a lot of my actions. And the thing is there's reasons why you would want to recall, because like in a lot of worker placement games, I ran out of workers, time to pull them all back. And you want to do that here because there's Freud who moves around the board and yourself that moves around the board. And being in certain locations, depending on how many are there, how many icons of that location you have, allows you to place personal insight on those spots to move your inkwell even more, or to get heart-shaped box tokens, and that again helps you cure patients, and potentially gives you a reputation. So I think pretty much my one major gripe is, for me personally, I felt like everything was pretty easy. I never really had to want for anything. It was very easy to get insight tokens. It was very easy to increase them or transfer them around the board. It was very easy to treat patients, easy to get coffee, easy to get heart-shaped box tokens. And I'm not sitting here saying like, I found this game incredibly simple. I wouldn't go that far at all. It's just whenever I've been playing this game, I'm almost like, oh, what do I need? Oh, I'll just do this to get that. Instead of kind of thinking multiple layers ahead. Hell, even whenever you go to treat patients, you can treat both of them if you have the insights in the way you want. Now, for a lot of people, I think this is going to be great because, and even for me, I'd rather have this than the latter of just having everything be way too tight, where you have to be super efficient from the very first action, and if you don't, then you're screwed the rest of the game. Those games are annoying as hell. So but there's a middle ground that I'd prefer, where it's like, okay, if I want to do this, yeah, it's like, do I want to use all my coffee? Do I want to spend my coffee on that? Because it's gonna take me a little bit to get it back. Which I get it, it's coffee. Like, just fill up the damn cup. Thematically, it's easy to get more coffee. But in the terms of the game, I felt that it was pretty much easy. The hard part was honestly like trying to get a system in where you draw these cards, because it allows you, playing the cards allows you to publish treaties. And hell, even playing the cards gives you benefits. So if you want but if you want a more accessible worker placement game, surprisingly, this game is it. It looks busy as hell. And even when you're teaching the game, it feels like it's going to be complex. But this one, and this is what Fantasia Games does, they just find ways to take complex games or games that look complex and actually kind of simplify them. But I've also found that some of their other games are enhanced by expansions or modules, which they have. But I haven't tried any of those, so I've just been playing the base game. But the overall flow of the game is very, very clean. Like, you take one or two of your ideas, place them pointing at an action that you haven't done before, and then you just do that action in one or two spots. It's easy to get. Notebook tiles, I love having your own personal kind of engine that always reminds me of like Anachrony, where it's like, hey, here's my own personal action worker placement spots or action spots that I get to trigger by moving my inkwell around. The game is gorgeously produced. Also, you score points. You don't get points for doing everything, so it's not necessarily a point salad, but you gain a lot of points by doing what the game is designed around, is by curing patients. Not a whole bunch of other ways to score points. There are some, but they're very minor. Like, a neat idea is that when you take a grief card and it's random and it goes on top of a patient, the combined hearts, so how easy it is to cure them, will, the lesser the hearts, or the more hearts they have, which it goes up to 8, the more rewards they are, which is not really much, but it's some victory points, meaning you land on the 3 points, so you get 3 points for taking an 8 heart patient, and then each time you cure them, you get 2 points and then 1 point. So you get a total of 6 points just for taking a higher level card, on top of the fact that they give you points, like 8 to 12 points just for curing them. And then sometimes the grief cards will have a significant number of points on them. And that one is my only big negative, is I don't really like how the grief cards are so swingy in terms of how many points they give you. Like, some of them will just straight up give you 7 points. And or hell, this one even gives you 8 points on top of a card that could potentially give you 12. So just for curing that patient, which I've already said is pretty easy to do, can net you 20 points. And I don't like how that can just randomly come out on top of just a patient out there. It seems like if you take lower scoring, like lower hearts, I don't really see the incentive to get a higher value patient, because if you can at least cure them, like, hey, I have a patient that needs 4 hearts, 5 hearts to cure. That's gonna be way easier for you to do based off the dreams than it is for someone else, and you're gonna get more points more quickly. Now, I mean, yeah, victory points are denoted by how on how you win the game, but there's also incentive to gain reputation, and the major way of gaining reputation is by location tiles, which have kind of open goals of curing 2 client study patients, curing 3 case study patients, curing 3 routine patients, filling out 2 columns, things like that, that if you take 1, it's going to give you icons for locations, and 2, it's going to give you a reputation. And the reputation track is kind of interesting because it goes hand in hand with Freud, and Freud's the timer. So each time you or anyone else gains a reputation, Freud moves up. And after he moves past the 9th spot, the game is over. But if you move up really quickly, then you can, if you activate the reputation track, you can get 3, 6, 10 points each time you activate that. Now, by the time Freud is moving up, because it's when any player moves up that he also moves, so you being at the end and just constantly scoring those 10 points is not going to be likely. But, I mean, hell, even activating that once is going to net you a bunch of points. On top of the fact that at the end of the game, you get victory points for how far you are up there. But there are 2 types of patients that I like their effects. The routine patients give you in-game special, rule-bending abilities, which are very nice. I always like that in games. And the case study patients give you end-game objectives. I love that in games. Just, hey, here's an ability, a really cool broken ability that I get for curing this patient. And at the end of the game, I'm also going to get so many victory points for doing a certain thing. It's like, oh, for each spot you moved up on the reputation track, get 3 points. Or for each patient that you've cured, gain 3 points. But again, I find those that come out are pretty easy to do. And they have a cap, typically max of 12 points. And you're almost always, at least every time I've played, have gotten that max. So, and if everyone can get the max, then it's like, what's the point in kind of moving up? But there is a little bit of area control, like you can place, you're limited on these insights. These insight tokens you need, your uncolored, allows you to publish treaties and also go on the districts. So you get victory points for diversifying by placing these in the districts, which can get you 18 points if you have at least 1 in each location. You also, for the reputation track, whoever is the furthest on even gets rewarded even more, because for each treaties that they've published and patient they've cured, they get 2 points, and whoever's in second gets 1 point. Again, unless I'm completely missing something, then this is like, it's relatively easy to do. So it just seems like the game just kind of is handing you a lot of stuff, and you don't really have, like, even publishing the treaties is kind of easy because you can borrow from other people, which is thematic. Hey, I've read your published work. I'm going to cite that to help solidify what I'm working on. I think that's really cool. But you need to have contributed a little bit. So if you want to publish a large treatise, that you need to have at least played a red card. Okay, I have this red card in front of me. And then from everything else that's been published, which you can't use your own, so if other people have published treaties, then if you needed a red, green, and purple, you can kind of take those from the others. There are some restrictions on that, but if they're available, you can take them. Yes, your opponents are going to get 2 points in a Bright Ideas, which at the end of the game, Bright Ideas are worth a point, so potentially 3 points. But you swing 12 points, and that also gives you access to icons, which icons you need to be able to place your personal colored insight tokens in locations. So you're able to just kind of ramp up a lot, and it almost feels like if a person can kind of get ahead, they're going to keep getting ahead because they're going to be the ones getting a lot of points, curing a lot of patients, and at the end of the game, getting a lot of points just for doing that. The case study patients are also easy to do because they don't really diversify in how difficult they are except by the grief tokens or the grief cards. So you could have a case study patient that gives you 3 points for every patient you cured, and just by happenstance, the grief cards that come out, give you 4 hearts that you have to deal with. And not only that, not only do they have dreams, are how you mainly cure them for getting benefits, but you can also get these heart-shaped boxes, which at the end of your turn you could spend to be able to cure them without having to rely on the dreams, which again can give you 8 to 12 points, and now you have that, and then you finish out a location, which gets you a reputation, which moves it up. So again, like, nothing about these systems I find bad by any means. I just think that, to me, I'm not really challenged by playing this game. Even though it's gorgeous, I love the artwork, the dream idea is fantastic. This insight dial is fine. It is what it is. Like, I know they try to make a thematic of freedom, passion, and growth, and different tiles, like different minor, median, and major. But I basically completely nixed calling it any of that. And I'm like, okay, I have a large red, and it's, again, easy to do, because if you move your ink tile to a certain location, it's like, oh, okay, this spot is going to give me a minor green, a medium green, and two minor purples. All right, and then now I'm going to spend coffee. I'm going to spend 4 coffee to increase, to enhance those, and then now that's even my turn. So I'm going to go over here to this location and then increase those even more. And now I can immediately cure this patient. I think a lot of people will enjoy the fact that this isn't like stressful, and it really isn't. But I think as I've been playing it, I'm just kind of like, yeah, all right, this is how it's going to be. It's not hard to move Freud. It's not. In fact, when you're gaining benefits of the locations, you can use Freud's location as well as your own to gain location bonuses, and even resting to pull your actions back, which you will do even though you have actions remaining to do, because the board will eventually get full. You're kind of like, oh, okay, well, there's a lot of people at that location. I'm going to do that location bonus 4 times. Or, hey, I have 6 of these icons. I'm going to do that location 5 times, because you can only do it a max of 5. And because you can interrupt those actions with free actions, then you get a lot. Like the red location I'm just looking at, you could spend, if you get that action 5 times, you could gain a minor passion, spend that minor passion to draw a card, gain a minor passion, spend that minor passion to draw a card, gain that minor passion again. So, which again, if you're needing to play cards because you don't want to have to give people victory points for citing their works and you want to do it on your own, then you're able to do so because you just go to that location because that's where you're kind of best at. Yeah, and then at the end of the game, the final scoring was just very, like, almost everyone was maxed out for a lot of it, and it's like, hey, for each different icon that you have in play, if you have all 6 icons, that's 15 points. It's like, okay, well, I've gotten most of the locations and published the most treaties. That's pretty much giving me six icons for 15 points. So yeah, it's a weird situation to be in because I wanted to kind of have to think a little bit when playing this game, and I feel like I don't really. But I also don't want to think too much where it's kind of a slog to play. So it's a weird kind of middle ground where the game is good and it's solid of a game, but at the same time, it's there. And now, again, maybe that's just kind of how Fantasia designs their, or publish it. I know they're not the designers. Who is the designer again? Yoma... God, have I played? Yoma Zax Laskis and Johnny Pack. I'd have to look at the designers because I can't remember if I've played any of their other games. I just literally backed this game off of the art and the publisher. But, I mean, that's, if I remember right, let me just double check, because I'm pretty sure that Fantasia designed, is it Fantasia? Oh, it's with a S. Okay. If I knew what I was spelling, yeah, Fantasia Games Publisher. Yes, okay, they did Endless Winter. That's what I thought. Endless Winter was also kind of like that, where the base game was fine. It was what it was, but then you add a bunch of modules which enhanced the game and gave it some more meat. Now, I know this has modules built into the game, and I know it has a Nightmares expansion. So I don't know if those expansions or modules are kind of like, oh, you have a problem, these were kind of your gripes with it, put these modules in or play with the expansion and that'll fix it. Which, for me, or for a lot of people, what I'm talking about might not even need fixing. It's a very awesome, gorgeously produced game that will be good enough for a lot of people, and the modules or the expansion might overcomplicate it to where they're at. So it's honestly the better position to be in. Yeah, like that's pretty much it. Like I'm trying to think of really anything else, because I do like when games allow you to interrupt actions with free actions. That's always nice. I like the fact that when you activate your tiles or your notebook, it's not from right to left, so you have to think about ordering them in any way. You can, okay, here are the 4 things you got to do those in any order, which could be very cool. You can get some really cool combos that will help you cure even more patients. Really, like I said, my only major negative on the game, honestly, are the grief cards kind of being a little too swingy for some, and I wish the case study patients and the routine patients kind of had a little bit. The only difference between them are in-game bonuses or end-game scoring, but they both give you cure scoring. To me, it's weird that the case study patients give you scoring for curing them when they also give you stuff for scoring at the end. So it's like, oh, hey, this person, one, giving her catharsis gives you 3 points, and curing her gives you 10. And this one is probably, if I had to guess, 4 points for each completed column, which is a max of 12. So if you filled out your board, one, that gives you a reputation, which is good. Also, for each row you've completed, that's going to give you 16 points. So if you've completely filled this out, this card alone is 16 plus 12, so 28, plus the 10, so 38, plus the grief card of 3, so 41 points. This one card alone at the end of the game is worth 41 points. So you score a lot of points in this game. And it's just weird. I wish that she was more just like, hey, you get that end game scoring, or at least if they want to give you some curing bonuses, have it be less. Have it be not 10 but 5 points, or like the one I'm looking at right now is 12. Have it be 6 points, half the amount of doing the in-game one, because then you have something to go for end game scoring. Because a 41 point swing of maxing out that one card is insane for curing one patient. So you do very well. So you'll feel good while playing the game because you're gonna get a lot of points, but pretty much so is everyone else. And I've come to learn I actually think I prefer like lower scoring games where points kind of matter, because it's like, hey, let's play Unconscious Mind where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Obviously the points matter because that's how you win, but because you just gain so much that it's like, man, it feels better to be like, oh man, I worked my ass off to get that 5 points versus, yeah, I completed, one card and got 40. That's just my own personal preference. But I know it definitely feels good to be like, and I get a bunch of points at the end of the game. I got 800 points at the end. So, yeah. The art is fantastic. I like the idea of... Now, these cards are from the deluxe version, and they're foil. Unfortunately, the only production issue, which is not really their fault, it's just the foil cards, bow, like, super bad. And I don't even remember if I kept the normal ones, because I think I'd prefer them not to be. But they look... The art is just so good. Extremely creative, and hell, I think you could even do some own like interpretation. If you really wanted to get into the theme, you could look at these and kind of see if there's any interpretation of the art. And there's definitely some references in here. There's the oh god, what was it called? That piece of art was called The Temptation of St. Anthony by Salvador Dali, which is really cool. They have Starry Night in here, but like a tweak on them. So there's a bunch of references. And they have latent dreams, and there's 2 types of dreams, which, again, they have 2 types of dreams, but yet the dreams kind of do the same thing. Like, they require some different icons, but the theming of the game, where you're talking to them through their dreams and do an interpretation on what they mean to help cure the patient. Yeah, I understand that if they have a 6 or an 8 heart value, cure value, that you need higher value dreams to be able to cure them. And sometimes you might not even have enough with them that you have to use heart-shaped boxes to get them cured. But between the 2 dreams, there's not really any different. The latent dream, like this deck, you just draw from the top, which is, I guess, a thematic decision where since it's a latent dream, it's deep in their subconscious, so because they're not even aware of it, that's why you don't get to pick. But then the dreams, the other dreams, which I'm drawing a blank on what they're called, these ones, you get to draft those. And to me, that's thematically representing that's like the dreams they're currently having, and you're talking about, oh, what did you dream about last night? And this is what we're talking about. But between the 2, they're pretty much the exact same. And again, I really wish that there was more to differentiate them. Make the latent dream. The only reason it's harder to get to is because you stack them in a way where the one you get to draft goes on top and the latent dream or the dormant dream stays on the bottom. So you have to do the top one before you can do the bottom. But again, they're not hard. Like this one alone just requires you to have a major green and a medium purple, and some cards just outright give them to you. Or you can freely get a minor green and then do an action that bumps it all the way up to a major. So it's not hard to do to be able to... Yeah, in this case, you just need that only gets you 2 hearts and a bright idea. But on top of the bright idea concept is, one, they're worth points at the end of the game, but they also can be used to in place of your actions. Like, so not only do you have 6 workers that you can use, you could potentially use a bright idea with a talking point to do that action twice. You don't even need to use your talking point. You can use 2 bright ideas and go to a spot to be able to do the action twice. So you're pretty much never going to want for actions. The only thing that gets in your way are other people placing in the spot that you might want to go to. But yeah. It's I wish the game, pretty much at the end of the day, wish the game was a little bit tighter. Wish there was some diversity between the 2 patients besides the endgame scoring and in-game bonus, and wish there were some differences between the 2 dreams. But like I said, I don't hate this game by any means. I think this game is very good. So I need to try the expansions and the modules to kind of see if this is another Endless Winter situation that, oh, okay, base game is a good learning point, but now we're going to kind of throw in the rest of the game, which is, it is what it is. So, with that being said, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm going to come in at a solid 7.5. Like, I can't quite give it an 8. I really, really was thinking that this game was just going to be, like, mind-boggling. And maybe it would have been when I originally backed it. But I think, again, for a lot of people, this is going to be fantastic for them. I was originally thinking 7, but the production value is fantastic. The art is exactly why I got this game. And even the grievances that I have for it are kind of slightly alleviated, because if it was harder, I mean, I don't own Vita Lasarda games anymore because I just am never in the mood to be like, do I want that mind crunch for 2 hours? Not at this point in time. So it's kind of weird that I'm coming in with this mixed feeling, and that could just be the vibes of games that board games that I'm wanting to play are not really this anymore. So it's definitely good, and I want to try the modules and see what they throw in. But yeah, it's just a weird situation to be in. But 7.5, and that's it, everyone. Let me know what you think of Unconscious Mind in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.